with Ted Tibbett and comments. You can call us now at 261-0898 or pound 981 on any ceasefire device. Our email is newsradiomornings@gmail.com. Just take those old.
Hey, good morning. 7:16. It is Friday morning, the time we really enjoy. Michael welcomes the special guest in, Gene Valentino.
Hey, good morning, Gene.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you?
Hey, all good. Everything, we just, a little rain here and there, but other than that, all good. How about you?
Well, over here in Pensacola, about 71 degrees, very humid, crazy weather. It's spotty, sunny 1 minute, then overcast the next. So it's welcome to April showers and May flowers.
Yeah, I guess so. We're sort of what we call entering into that summer weather pattern, it looks like.
I'm just lying low, but I've got plenty to tell you. Thank you for giving me this 15 minutes. Alexander Solzhenitsyn, you remember him? Novelist? Alexander Solzhenitsyn, a novelist, Russian who knew the democratic ways and the democratic system of governance. He and another Czech statesman, Václav Havel. Solzhenitsyn died in 2008. Havel died in 2011. They lived under communist dictatorships and knew what hell really looked like on earth. They ended up with the same obsession before all else, that we must live in truth. We must live in truth. Now, why would they come up with such an abstract philosophical comment like that? Conversely, they figured out that societies start to crumble when the leaders are concerned primarily with their own ambitions and their own realities, and they put themselves before the public, before the people. It leads to my point this morning. Headline is Impeach Biden now. There is no more time to waste. We sit against the backdrop of a failing border at the South, now with the rescission of Title 42. And it's just the tip of the iceberg. With millions of people crossing into our border illegally. What does that say about those who have tried to become citizens in this nation legally? This Joe Biden's got to go. Never mind Mayorkas at the border. He works for Biden. Let's get Biden out now. 3 bank failures. We lost 3 recently. We now have 3 lost United States embassies on Biden's watch. This is happening right before our eyes. We've got over 100 people in the United States that are in jail for several years under misdemeanors, for alleged misdemeanors, even as Democrats are letting murderers out of jail for so much more heinous activity. So much violates what Western civilization is supposedly devoted to. And that's the protection of the rights of the accused. Joe Biden's poll numbers, Michael, are so low because the American people finally see that Biden's hands are in the swamp big time with illegal activity and influence, money peddling. He's using money laundering, influence, bribery. They're just the initial concerns the American people have. And I got to tell you, I commend Chairman James Comer for his effort to get to the bottom of this. Comer's head of the House Oversight Committee, not to be confused with James Comey, who was the head of the FBI, who ought to be in jail himself. The question that remains, which is at our doorstep, which is why we must now move for impeachment against Biden, yeah, but it started when he was vice president, is that it's proven now that Biden was directly involved. Is there no coincidence that 9 Biden family members are receiving money? What is their area of expertise? What did they do to justify foreign nations putting over $10 million into the pockets of these 9 members of the Biden crime family? Now, this is based on evidence coming only out of 4 banks. The Biden family didn't think that they'd be smart enough to getting subpoenaed information from the banks through the back door, but they did. And now there's about 8 banks remaining that they haven't even gotten information from yet. Wait till that information comes in. And 16 of the 17 payments to the Bidens were from Romanian entities, and it occurred when Joe was vice president. He's got to be impeached. He has used the influence of his job for personal gain, which is what I started the comments with earlier, referencing Alexander Solzhenitsyn, that they have used their public purpose for private gain. And that is the beginning of the fall of a democracy. It happened a few years ago. It was called the fall of the Roman Empire, and we're now experiencing it again.
You know, it's interesting, this case that they are building against Biden. I mean, it directly relates to what you said, which is, it's a pay for play, influence peddling, whatever you want to call it. But the interesting thing is that I never hear anybody say on the left that they try to actually make this out as if Biden has been cleared. I mean, if you read the New York Times, or if you read or see any of the things going on in other media outlets outside of some of the conservative outlets, you don't hear anything about this. I mean, Gene, there's half of the population that just don't even know this exists. And so you got to ask.
I'm concerned about that, Michael. You bring up probably one of the best points of all. If we allow it to happen, it will happen. You know, the atrocities against the Jews in Europe during World War II went on longer and were more egregious than they should have been, because many people stuck their heads in the sand and refused to see the obvious or didn't want to believe it. It's a human trait. We sometimes look the other way and would rather just ignore the truth. We cannot ignore this truth. That's why they call the press the fourth estate. There's 3 estates. That's the administrative, judicial, and legislative forms of our government. But the 4th form of outside our government is called the 4th estate, and it's referring to the press. And if you violate the truth that the press is supposed to convey, you are a traitor. And it's showing its ugly colors in both the media and in the schools. Why, recently we watched this CNN interview. The liberals lost their minds over Trump at the town hall meeting. Trump, with eyes closed and hands tied behind his back, pounced on these on the attempt to take him down in this town hall meeting. And Congressman Byron Donalds said it perfectly. He said, "What are you doing?" He said, "The town hall meeting is geared for the citizens, and the citizens to hear about the candidate, from the candidate, and to have such an exchange. It's not a lynch mob mentality for the press to gang up on the candidate," which is what you're seeing on CNN now. Well, they're just coming. There's a meltdown going on at CNN now, and rightfully so, for the reprehensible behavior that was seen on that recent town hall meeting.
Yeah, that was, honestly, I did not watch it. I have sort of not been watching much news lately. And the reason is because I'm just sick to my stomach about what they did to Tucker Carlson, because he actually was one of the only news shows that I really watched at night. I mean, I like Tucker. I love how he, regardless of whether you agree with him or not, you have to look at his passion to make sure you're getting a different story than what, everybody else is saying. I mean, he goes in depth, he looks, he has ideas, whether you agree with him or not. There wasn't everything that I always agreed with Tucker about, but what's the point of having a news show like that? Well, the point is to make you look at other views, right? That's what
you and I are carrying on a discussion right now, which conveys an opinion. It conveys the audience walks away from this 15 minutes with a sense or understanding of where you and I are coming from. And we reference the truth of the events of the day, but we form our own opinion. It's called commentary. There's a place for it in the media where you have segments set aside for personal opinion and commentary. In the newspaper, it's called the editorial page. But if you are going to be a journalist, you don't cross that line. You don't use facts in the sentence and then continue with the sentence. Well, I'm glad they're about to try to impeach him because based on what I just told you, he should be in jail. That's a conversation for you and I right now in an editorial where we opine. But the problem is journalism. In Journalism 101, which I took a few journalism courses in my day, Journalism 101 tells you keep those two worlds separate. My father was an NBC news correspondent and former news anchor at the Mutual News Radio Network in Washington, D.C. God bless his soul, died about 10 years ago. My dad would be rolling over in his grave if he saw the level of commentary associated with the story itself. They've all gone berserk. They need to tell me one profession that is so unregulated. It's called journalism. What license did you get to become a journalist? What degree did you really have to get on the air or in the paper? And what standards are you following? Is it the standards of who, what, when, where, and how, and why? Are you reporting the facts? Or are you doing what the boss on the floor tells you to do because he's got a boss above him that's trying to get a message out on behalf of the sponsors and the stockholders of the company? Ergo, CNN, MSNBC. I can cite specifically firsthand a guy by the name of Joe Scarborough on MSNBC, who used to be a congressman in the District 1 of Florida. He was a Republican conservative. He met Mika Brzezinski. He got some help from the local lawyers in this area and got a job on MSNBC. Chris Matthews helped him get there. He's now some sort of superstar on MSNBC. He gave up his Republican conservatism and couldn't be any more a hostile, poisoned liberal as he is right now.
30 seconds.
Yeah, he couldn't have been such a hostile, poisoned liberal as he is right now. What a shame. This guy has really ruined the spirit of journalism as we know it today.
Okay, all right. So quickly, the same people that will argue that the First Amendment, that they don't need any license, that's the same people that will tell you need to get a license to get a gun on the Second Amendment.
There's a defense in the law, and I'll be brief. It's called actionable words. You have no right to threaten me and consider that free speech. You have no right to incite violence through what's called actionable words. Doing so, you must defend yourself. That's what happened in the subway with this recent gentleman who's now.
Sorry, Gene, we gotta go. See ya.
Bye-bye, buddy.
Fox News.